I'd love to introduce an educational video today as to why I choose to be on my own spiritual path of evolution and the continuation of developing my spiritual gifts, and why I like to teach other people to go about this naturally. And when I say naturally, meaning sober, without the influence of things like ayahuasca or magic mushrooms and other sorts of things that certainly do reveal to us the astral plane. And I do have compassion for that, one-off experience that shows you that there's more than the physical dimension. But after we've had that experience, I do believe that the high self comes with a message to get back in your body and being and expand naturally into those spaces and places. And there's a reason for that. And a lot of that comes back to protection and these natural initiations that life will take you through if you are consciously working with yourself. And one of the main rules we really want to understand with the astral plane right away is that it's vibrational. So we need to be able to not only access our state of being, so like our overall vibration, which is ultimately affected by our mind, our thoughts, and where we are placing our attention and our awareness. It's also influenced by our emotional body, and it's also influenced by things like our soul, past memories, our belief systems, these sorts of things. So it's almost like, if you can imagine, when you meet someone the first time, you kind of get that impression, and that impression is also the thing that is having an effect on the astral plane. So you're already in the astral plane, you're already connected to that dimension. It's just whether or not you're aware of it or not. So when we take things that are throw us deep into that awareness very quickly, even though there is permission with the digestion of these plants that have this hallucinogenic nature to them, you are very quickly thrown into the astral plane without having developed the tools or the ability or the skills to navigate the astral plane safely. And what we want to understand about the astral plane is, yes, it's vibrational, which means that there are lower dimensions of the astral plane, which I'm sure we've all experienced, even if that's just in dream space. And then there are higher elements of the astral plane. And we work to be able to connect with the higher dimensions or the higher levels of the astral plane by that overall kind of vibration, or that impression that I spoke of previously. We're kind of working at that mentally, physically, even the physical body, emotionally and mentally, to alter and change our entire vibration. And in the process of that, what starts to happen is we build this thing called a light body, and that is the body that you navigate the astral plane in. If you don't yet have access to your extrasensory abilities like seeing and feeling and knowing and sensing and hearing, your clairs, your psychic abilities, which are the language that helps you navigate the astral plane, right? Including things like telepathy and all sorts of other amazing and incredible gifts that, whenever we're working with energy, they kind of stem from this space, right? And so if this is our line of communication, but we don't yet have that language awakened internally, then we still end up going there relatively, I'd say, like immaturely. And so we arrive in that space, and what happens the moment you confront something that you don't know, like an energy or an entity, say, that doesn't have like your best agenda at heart. It might appear to you as Mother Mary, and it might come with an amazing message and tell you which way your life is going and blah blah blah. But there are simple little things that we learn along the way when we are going through this really naturally, and we have these little initiations and we're consciously expanding and we're working with the laws that govern these planes, is that in that interaction there are questions that you would ask to make sure that you're not seeing an illusion. And the reason that we look at things like this is because just because we're seeing spirits, it doesn't mean that what you are seeing in here is exactly what's going on in there. And so spirits can present themselves however they wish. They don't have a physical body. If they want to appear in a very particular way, they will appear in a very particular way. So you might have something that appears as Mother Mary, but vibrationally you're speaking to a clown. What you then do with that information, if you don't have the discernment to recognize whether that information has your highest good at heart, meaning that it's coming from the light, and you know that, you can sense that, you can feel that, and you accept that, you're kind of going in there unable to perceive truth. And that's what this awakening does. It consciously, when we learn these skills, gifts, and abilities, we expand gradually. And that means that we get tested with our mind. We get tested through our emotional body. We get initiated through different aspects of our soul coming online. And there's deep healing that takes place when we are doing this really naturally and organically. And this capacity to perceive the truth is huge. And if you are unable in your day-to-day sober life, unable to tap into your emotional body and direct your intention to connect with that specific trauma that's keeping you addicted to the bread, let's just say, then why would it be helpful for you to be thrown out into the astral plane to maybe go and find the answer and maybe not, and to maybe receive that answer from the light and maybe not? And look, I understand that there's a space and a place for everything, but I want to provide a little visual for you as well. Just before I tidy this up, I don't want to be rabbiting on. We can talk about this in more detail. We definitely will in the House of Mystics, because I teach you the natural way to expand your consciousness so as that you can navigate the astral plane safely, but in your heart, and taking into consideration that we do bump into all sorts of different experiences on the astral plane that do come to help awaken us, but we need to be able to communicate correctly, and we need to be able to understand what we're communicating with, who we are communicating with. And so there's a preparation that takes place, and there's a slow building of this beautiful light body. Sorry, my phone's just on charge. It's just unplugged, so I can save that. So there's this slow evolution, and that slow evolution, what that does is not only allow for you to navigate energy in your everyday life and work with spirit, because that's where we start, right? We want to work with our own spirit, and we want to work with our spirit guides. We want to work with our higher self. We have support as we go into these places, because spirit guides definitely work at will. And we want to make sure that who we've got backing us, who we've got supporting us, who we've got teaching us, who we've got guiding us in those spaces, also has our highest good at heart. There's a lot of tricks to energy that takes place in these planes. I'm really sorry, I just have to fix up this tripod. Its legs are doing funny things. Okay, that should be fine. All right, so if we can look at our awakening as you could look at that like a spiral, or this just helps me kind of map it out here. If we look at this as like the third dimension, the fourth dimension, that's where most people are residing here, right? Then we start to go to 5D, which is where we introduce the non-physical. So we have physical and non-physical. And then we've got 6D, 7D, blah, 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 blah. Without getting sort of caught up into the different dimensions, before you are aware of your spiritual gifts and your sensitivities, because light is our awareness, right? You're conscious of it. You're kind of just residing in this plane here. You might have like a gut feeling every now and then, or these sorts of things. You're kind of dancing around the planes of the fifth dimension. But the most beautiful thing about this, and wherever you're at, is that this fifth dimension here, and this crossing over from the fourth to the fifth, it necessarily tests you to cultivate a relationship with your mental and your emotional body, knowing that when you enter into the astral plane or you start communicating with the fifth dimension, it is vibrational. So if you start to expand and awaken, or you go into these spaces and you're ripped out here, because it will rip too, you'll open doors, gates, and portals. You'll open up leaks, tears, and holes. You open up gateways for information to flow in, and you'll have that experience when you go up and out of body, or your consciousness is traveling into these dimensions before you are necessarily ready. And then all of this information and these doorways that open, not only can stuff then come back in when you have an opportunity to maybe come back into your body after, that this point between 4D and 5D and 5D and 6D, there's thresholds here, layers that you need to initiate yourself through, so as that when you navigate a plane that is instantaneously manifesting what you are thinking, what you are feeling, what's gone on in your soul, it's that you don't want to end up in this space and end up in these depths of hell. Trust me, that's where I was for a really long time. And it's not just that easy to say, be grounded and get in your body, because if you don't have a light body, what is actually traveling? Everybody has this opportunity to cultivate their light body, which is your consciousness in these planes. And that's what we do, is we bring more awareness and more light into our body in the present moment. And so through the cultivation of your spiritual gifts and a very grounded and practical approach to building upward, right? We want to merge and connect the non-physical to the physical. And then we want to expand outward into these spaces where we can see, hear, feel, know, and navigate vibrationally, because we've learnt the lessons to direct our thought and our attention to stay focused and connected to heart, and to know that we have the tools if something was to come our way, or you thought of it, an icky thing and yucky thought went through your mind in the astral plane and something came with it, that you have the ability to be able to stop, pause, see it, push it out of the space, clear it if it does become attached, ask the questions, what was your weakness that allowed this in the first place? It's a whole series of events that takes place to be able to read energy accurately, but also to be in relationship with it. So what we want to understand when we induce these unnatural, I'm going to say unnatural, and I do think that they've held place, by the way. I just feel like where we are now as far as our evolution goes, we have access to so much light, to so much information, and the ability to do this naturally inside of your body. And I don't believe that you need these things anymore in order to connect with what's out here. So that's where we want to cultivate this discernment to what's the source of my desire. Because you can have things that are lurking around. Just because it's fifth dimension doesn't mean that it's all light, by the way. Just because it's non-physical doesn't mean that it's passing on messages that are for your highest good. So you can be receiving thought forms and threads that are saying, drink the ayahuasca, drink the ayahuasca, drink the ayahuasca, drink the ayahuasca. But what happens if that's not your thought thread at all? I see this all the time. You've got something that's lingering around here that's testing you, that's sending this thought thread. And you go, oh, cool, that's mine. Yeah, that's my desire. You start to circle it around your system and you respond unconsciously. So we want to get so conscious. You can see, right? Every thought, every belief, every moment of expansion and retraction, we want to be able to stay connected to this beautiful heart. And by no means have I perfected this either. This is my own evolution. I'm learning with you all. And we have moments where we work to connect here, where it's completely non-physical and it's all just beautiful vision. And this is where we start to connect with those amazing masters and stuff that come into these spaces. And so this slow and sustainable expansion will have you build your light body so that you can enter safely into these spaces and also consciously then end up back in your body. And part of that is training you to have your consciousness in two places at one time. And we do travel through time. We go beyond time in this space here. And that's where you get the power and the ability to heal yourself, to be able to see the truth. But a lot of us aren't ready to see the truth. Look at it in our everyday lives, the things we turn our heads away from. We've got to be able to stare it right in the face. And so it's a courageous path. It really is. And there's no judgment if these are the things that you've wanted or needed, but ask yourself why. What is it that offers you that you can't work towards to experience naturally and without all of the confusion? And to see these beautiful initiations as you expand and you do this organically, is that you learn the discernment that you need in order to communicate with this plane really naturally and really easily. So I think that it's something worth considering. Going into the damage that happens to your etheric body and your higher channels and columns that you might, we've got to look at this kind of running up this way as well. So when we're channeling light, like it's moving from a higher plane and down and into our body and our being. But what happens if you've got interferences now, ticks, bugs, astral parasites, all sorts of things? You see this 6 months, 12 months after somebody's taken a huge dose of magic mushrooms or they've taken a huge dose of ayahuasca. And because they're not aware of what's going on in these planes here, because you haven't naturally expanded your awareness, you come back into your body, hopefully, or part of your consciousness does after that experience when you sober up, but you're not now aware of all of these places you've opened up. And so how that ends up manifesting is still going to be on a third or a fourth dimensional plane. So you're looking at physical illness, sickness, disease. You're looking at depression. You're looking at battling anxiety. You're looking at self-consciousness. You're looking at all of these things, and you don't have the tools to now transcend this denser energy. So look at the long run. Look at the bigger picture. You are going to limit yourself. And it's like it's not a faster approach to your awakening. That's what I guess I am saying, because there is deep compromise. And if you're not sensitive to what goes on here and here and here, then it doesn't really matter. And I don't really know why you're on my page, really, because you just wouldn't be called to it. Most of you that are here are beautiful, sensitive beings, and you have these things that you might not be able to put sense to. And I understand the desire for this. I've tried this. You can see it on my YouTube. I go into detail about my experience. I was probably a bit still aggressive in that transmission. And I really am trying to be neutral about this and come with a sense of compassion, because I understand the want, the need, the curiosity to explore these places, but you can. You really, really can. We have all of this internally, but it takes a sense of responsibility. And you will be initiated. You will be scared. You will be liberated. You will be empowered. And Spirit will work with you to slowly and gently fine-tune your sensitivity and awake your gifts and abilities at the time and the place that you are ready to navigate these planes consciously, because they are vibrational in nature. Trust me, my awakening was like that, a big rip, tear, and hole. So I'm playing around in all of these spaces, but I am an absolute mess. So that's why I experienced psychic attack, why I couldn't sleep for years, whilst I was suicidal. I had thoughts in my head telling me, just so aggressive, because I had not the tools to be able to navigate these planes. I didn't understand they were vibrational. I couldn't now get out of it. And I had this responsibility to clean up my body and my being and my soul, for years, to get to a space where I could even enter into this place or be comfortable in my body and my being without kind of attracting this stuff continuously. But you will attract this stuff, and devils and demons and boogies and all that sort of things. It's not really anything to be afraid of. We just look at the truth of it. There are beautiful light beings, and there are less than loved ones too. We just need to have the discernment. Who are we talking to? Whose was that telepathic information? Whose was that feeling? That energy that I felt on my feeling body. We need to know what it is that's going on. So this is why I'm passionate about a natural awakening. And these are the things that you will learn at the House of Mystics. And these are the things that my girls that have previously graduated are now doing. And when you can navigate this for yourself, when you are having this internal experience, it's very easy then to transfer that skill set to be able to attune into somebody else's energy and see what they cannot yet perceive. And that's where things like guidance and energetic, translating and your healing work and those sorts of things is because you can see people's blind spots quite literally. There isn't light there yet. So we have the ability to slowly and gently expand that consciousness into those planes, or to have a look at a particular piece of information and translate it in a way that the person in front of you can hear it. But you go throwing yourself out of your body really prematurely. I hope you can come back in. But those leaks, tears, and holes, and rips, and all those other things, if you weren't previously aware that you had these doors and gates, even through your channel, why would you then know? How would you then know how to close them? It's more complicated than that. And there's a simplicity to it all as well. But there are methods that we can follow. And you'll be naturally initiated. And when you are ready, your gifts will be opened. And it happens when you are devoted and you're doing so from a heart-centered place. So I'm calling forth all the people that want to come and do this journey naturally. I understand the nature of these things. And there can be some repair if you have had these experiences and you come back into your body, but you have all the support, all of the information, and it's an experiential piece. This is not just me going blah, blah, blah. I will take you through multiple practices over and over again, so as that you have a full body and being experience of these different dimensions at the pace that your spirit can digest this, at the pace that your soul can digest this, at the pace that your mind and your emotions can digest this. And that's where the different levels of consciousness are welcome, because your experience is going to be different to everybody else's, but then you have the opportunity to learn from the other women too. So this is why I am passionate about a natural evolution. And I think that the ayahuasca and the magic mushrooms and these other forms of jinns are excuses, and they're temporary, and we're not looking 6-12 months into the future and having a look at the side effects that happen from these pieces when you've opened up these doors and gateways and you haven't cultivated this discernment to be able to identify whose thought, who's feeling, whose project, who's this, you know. It's beautifully complex, but you do have the ability to do this. So if you're interested, you want to book a call with me, I am taking calls, as in you can send me a direct message, we can jump on a Zoom call. If you have any questions about the course to see whether this is a match for you, please know there are payment plans. Early bird is on until the 12th of October. If you're seeing this ahead of time, you know, this is always going to be something to consider. Sending you heaps of love. I hope that this was enlightening, and yeah, even this kind of information, if it doesn't resonate with you deeply, ask yourself why. Ask yourself the source of your desire. What is it that you believe that that thing can offer you that you don't have internally? It's really, really important. Lots of love.